It is a throwback episode, not just because we're talking about three pretty historic teams in the NFL today, the Commanders, the Steelers, and the Lions, but it is the original gangsters of the show, the original two, if you can call white people gangsters at this point. It's me and Josh, nobody else, all right? We've had some last-minute cancellations. We were talking, who should we bring on? We were like, no, let's give the people what they want. Just Josh on the show. That's what they want. Only Josh is the guest. We're talking Commanders, Steelers, Lions. Let's get into it. Welcome into No Punt Intended, presented by Club Fantasy. I am your host, Joe Zolo, and I would normally go, and as always, but at this point in time, there's one motherfucker to the left of me on the screen. So, hey, how's it been?
What's up, buddy? Long time no see.
Throwing it back to 2017 when Josh was in his young days. So here we are, just the two of us again, and what an electric show to talk about just three absolute middle-of-the-road teams that aren't going anywhere this year. What an exciting time. Detroit, maybe. All right? Detroit's fun. Okay? They're
going to be a fun one to talk about.
They'll definitely be a fun one to talk about. I think all these teams have great assets and different things in fantasy football on both sides of the football, might I add. Both these teams are very good on both sides of the football from a fantasy football perspective. From a real football perspective, we'll see how that turns out. But from a fantasy football perspective, these are probably going to be some teams you're going to have your eye on at least. Maybe not early in drafts, but definitely middle round guys that you probably get a lot of value from. All right, Elixirs. I actually just saw why does Joe and then DeVante Parker. I didn't even see the middle word. So that's a great question, Elixirs. For those of you listening on the podcast afterwards, not watching this live, it says, I hate DeVante Parker underneath my name. Elixirs, that's a great question. You want to know why I hate him? Because he signed a 3-year contract extension with the New England Patriots. Now you may be asking, Joe, that's no fault of DeVante Parker. He's just there, trying to get his money, trying to get his bag. I don't care. I can direct my anger at whoever I want to, and it is being directed at DeVante Parker, okay? All you got to do to stop DeVante Parker, press man. He can't play press man. It's that simple. If you play 5 yards off the ball.
50 guy. That's how he made his money at Louisville. Yes. That's how he made his money in Miami.
If you play 5 yards off of the football against DeVante Parker, he's fucking Randy Moss. If you play press coverage against DeVante Parker, he's Tavon Austin. So there's really no in between with the guy. Now, I'll give you this. When he's downfield and the defender's off ball and he runs a seam route, I'd probably take DeVante Parker in a lot of those matchups. He is a fantastic 50-50 guy. I do like him down the field. Too bad Mac Jones can't throw a fucking 50-50 ball. It's more 80-20 for the defender. DeVante Parker cannot play, and we're treating him as a true wide receiver one. Josh brought this up, and I was pissed when he did. Apparently, it's the same contract as Jacoby Myers. So... What are we really? Come on,
Joe, I gotta rub salt on the wound, man.
We're really like, oh my God, DeVante Parker. You want to know why people thought Xavier Howard was a good corner? Because he played against DeVante fucking Parker in practice. That's why they thought he was a good corner. Okay? Now he has to play against real receivers, and everyone realizes he sucks. DeVante Parker is trash. Absolute garbage.
He's an average NFL wide receiver. And I feel like, honestly, at this point, average NFL wide receivers are making about $11 million a year right now.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I know we compare contracts all the time. Fucking Jared Goff was the highest paid quarterback at one point. Yeah, we get it. It's crazy. Really? You had the guy on your roster. You had him. He also, get this, he could also throw touchdown passes, unlike the fucking quarterback you have now. So... what are we doing, guys? What are we doing? We could use him anywhere. DeVante Parker is a one-trick pony. Jacoby Myers could do everything. What are we doing? What are we doing?
I don't know, dude. I don't know.
That's why I hate DeVante Parker's elixirs. And Josh decided to schedule the Patriots episode when I wasn't on. It was like, oh, Howard Bender gets better treatment than me. Wow, Josh. What the hell? No, I listened to the show. Howard was fantastic. And I really wish I explained my Jets will go 1-5 in the division a lot better, because it was not a direct shot at Howard. It was a literal, like, I firmly believe the Jets go 1-5 in the division. So I wish that was explained better, but that's on me. That one's on me. I didn't type that in there. First team we're talking about, the Washington Commanders. 8-1 last year. Same coach, new offensive coordinator, Eric Bieniemy. We will officially see how Bieniemy does by himself. So this is the true, how does he actually do as the play caller, how he by himself, no safety net. I'm going to presume pretty good. Obviously, he doesn't have Mahomes, but ironically, he has a 1,000 times better receiver room than he ever had in Kansas City.
Yes. Collectively, yes. None of them are as talented as Tyreek Hill. But
no, you didn't let me finish.
Why would I ever do that? Come on.
Listen, I firmly believe Terry McLaurin is more talented than Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill runs a 3.6. So you can't coach that. He just has that. But in terms of ball skills, I think McLaurin is up there, if not better. But yes, none of them single-handedly were a better weapon than Tyreek Hill. But he never had Jahan Dotson and Curtis Samuel as wide receiver 2s and 3s. So he had Mecole Hardman and Demarcus Robinson. So collectively, as a wide receiver unit, pretty good. Also in the backfield, arguably the best backfield he's had. So in terms of overall weapons, in terms of weapon class, he's better. Obviously, you're not getting better than Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill in terms of singular players. But as weapons overall and people to spread the ball around, it's interesting what he has to work with. Quarterback 1 is Sam Howell. Quarterback 2, Jacoby Brissett. Presumed starter is Sam Howell. Jacoby Brissett might be the best backup quarterback in the NFL currently, because in any system you can plug him in, and as a football player.
If Ryan were here, he'd be like, how dare you slander Gardner Minshew?
Jacoby Brissett is a better quarterback too than Gardner Minshew. Sorry, and I'm also up there with one of the top Gardner Minshew fans. Gardner Minshew is right behind Brissett, but in every system Brissett's ever been plugged into, you can go in and be like, okay, I'm confident he can put us in a position to win. So as a football quarterback, Jacoby Brissett is there. And even if Sam Howell gets hurt and you need a fill-in quarterback for 1 week, Brissett is not a slouch in fantasy football. He's not at all. So definitely a good fill-in. Brian Robinson, Antonio Gibson, 1-2 right there. We'll get to Brian Robinson and Gibson later, because 2 starting running backs not even being drafted inside the top 30 at their position. Very interesting.
Unfathomable.
Yeah, it's it's not like Brian Robinson had a bad year last year. We'll get to that. Terry McLaurin, wide receiver 1, Jahan Dotson 2, Curtis Samuel 3. Biggest question mark with Samuel, obviously health. Jahan Dotson had an injury last year. Call it a one-off. We're not really sure. Terry McLaurin, the perennial wide receiver 2 of fantasy football. You know exactly what you're getting out of him. Logan Thomas is your tight end 1. Nobody really behind him to steal the limelight. He's getting up there in age. Maybe some guy, really impresses them in training camp, or maybe a young guy gets cut, comes over to the Commanders, fills in for Logan Thomas. You're not really looking at the tight end in this offense. Ironically, with Eric Bieniemy as the offensive coordinator. My guys, Josh and Ryan, you both have Antonio Gibson. Ryan says don't sleep on Logan Thomas. They're going to throw to the tight ends. Logan Thomas.
We'll get to that one in a little bit, because I have things to say.
Logan Thomas is old.
He's actually a year younger than Travis Kelce.
Yeah, but okay. What, really? And Tom Brady was 45, and I'd still take him over fucking Jared Goff. Like, there's no, we're fine. Logan Thomas, whatever. Antonio Gibson. I was gonna put him as my sleeper, because he's currently RB 31.
He's going a couple spots ahead of Brian Robinson right now.
Brian Robinson is RB 37, which we'll get to the sleeper in a second. But yeah, you have Antonio Gibson going RB31 behind Javonte Williams, who many people are just off the Javonte Williams, like, get me out of there because he's injured train, in just before A.J. Dillon. That doesn't feel like he should be going in that area, considering a massive amount of fantasy football players attribute targets as a massive thing for running backs. And you're looking at guys going ahead of him like James Cook, James Conner, David Montgomery, Isaiah Pacheco, Dameon Pierce, Cam Akers, Miles Sanders. Guys that aren't really known as receiving backs and probably won't be getting the ball out of the backfield a lot, whereas Gibson's role might just solely be receiving back here, right?
That's the idea, right? Like, the last three, or really the first 3 years of his career, his targets have steadily gone up. He's put together 1,000-yard rushing season, 1,000-yard total yard season. He's had 10 or more total touchdowns over 2 separate seasons. He's put it all together. He just hasn't done it all in one season. Mm-hmm. And I think that's kind of where everybody is sort of leaning, because his efficiency, especially with his yards per carry, 4.7, 4.0, 3.7. So now people are just like, well, he's not a running back. So if all he's doing is catching passes, then there's like no carries that will inflate his value at all. I would argue that if you lower the amount of carries, I mean, Jerick McKinnon didn't have a lot of rushing attempts. He had 71 targets last year, was basically the RB1 over the final month and a half of the season.
Hey, James White was the RB8 one year. He had he had maybe 50 carries.
Exactly. So there's a lot. There's plenty of upside that's baked into Gibson, because, I mean, just in receiving in general, this is an offense that typically throws anywhere from 100 to 120 times to the running back position. That's where Bieniemy comes from in that Andy Reid tree. They typically sit around 14 to 16 in terms of total targets to the running back position. What that shakes out to in target percent, I'm not 100% sure. I'm just looking at total targets from this point. But you don't have J.D. McKissic there anymore. That's 40 and 53 targets the last 2 seasons, gone.
He's the only receiving
He is
back.
the guy. They're not throwing the football to Brian Robinson. He might be lucky to see on average 1 target per game, because that is his game. If you're comparing this to, say, the Chiefs, Brian Robinson's Isaiah Pacheco. He's the guy that's going to handle the first and second downs. He's the guy that's going to be the hammer, right? Then you have Antonio Gibson, who's supposedly going to play that Jerick McKinnon role. Now, here's the only level of caution that I would usher into this concept. Antonio Gibson is not the third down pass block type of running back that Jerick McKinnon is. So, but I don't think Sam Howell has the type of sway that a Patrick Mahomes does. Whereas Mahomes can say, get Clyde Edwards-Helaire out of here. He can't pass block. Give me someone that can. Sam Howell is just going to die because that's it.
Sam Howell.
He's a 5th-round pick. They have nothing invested in this guy. If he bombs and Washington sucks this year, that's going to put the team in the conversation for Caleb Williams and the May kid out of UNC. Like, that's who they're ultimately looking at this season for.
Could you imagine they go back-to-back UNC quarterbacks? They both suck. Have we not learned our lesson from UNC quarterbacks if Sam Howell sucks this year? Have we not?
I will say I do like May. He's good.
Yeah,
he's not anything compared to Mitch Trubisky, anything compared to Sam Howell.
I'm going to preface this, right? Because everybody loves Sam Howell his junior year, right? Everybody loves Sam Howell. How do you do his senior year? 5th-round pick.
I mean, you could say the same thing about Josh Allen. He had a much better junior year than a senior year because all of his weapons went to the NFL.
Josh Allen went to Division II, Wyoming. So,
I mean, again, like you could make the argument the ACC right now is a Division II squad.
The ACC is like a glorified junior college division.
That's
okay?
the point that I'm getting at. The ACC
Yes.
sucks right now.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Have we not learned our lesson from UNC quarterbacks? That's what I'm. Regardless, we don't need to talk about Caleb May. We don't need to talk about Sam Howell. I think the big thing people are forgetting with Antonio Gibson as well, he played receiver in college.
Yeah, but even then, like, it wasn't even like he was a great wide receiver. He did it out of necessity simply because they didn't have wide receivers and they had Tony Pollard and Darrell Henderson and Kenneth Gainwell at running back at Memphis.
So what you're telling me is he played receiver in college, so he knows.
No, he could play receiver.
Yeah, so he played receiver in college. I mean, 19 yards per reception in his last year, and then 11 yards.
He's a big play guy, and
yeah.
Antonio Gibson can make plays. Like I said, he scored 11 rushing touchdowns his rookie season. He can get into the end zone. It's just this offense was not good last year. The idea is the offense will be better this year, but with so many weapons at the wide receiver position, how many touchdowns are going to be available to the running back position? I think that's really the biggest question, especially when you're working Curtis Samuel into the running back rotation 20 to 35 times in a season.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. It's just you're waiting for the injury report to pop up on Curtis Samuel. I really don't think he is a factor.
I think with the ascension of Jahan Dotson, Curtis Samuel now becomes arguably the best wide receiver 3 in the NFL.
Probably.
But then it boils down to how much do we trust Sam Howell?
He's the best wide receiver.
Are they going to let him throw the football 550 times? Is he going to be able to throw the football that many times? I don't have that baked into my projections. I have him at like 502 pass attempts. That's not going to be enough to get everybody their slice of the pie.
That's still 300 more than Justin Fields, so that's pretty good.
You're not wrong.
Yeah. Antonio Gibson, currently RB31. He's going in the same round as James Cook, Javonte Williams, and a few picks before A.J. Dillon, Zach Charbonnet. You're looking at guys who are going to, I mean, James Cook is going to get the lion's share of the carries in Buffalo. Javonte Williams coming back from injury. A.J. Dillon is, the red zone guy, and Zach Charbonnet is the backup currently. So, yes, Gibson is splitting, but for all the targets,
people running back room right now is a committee.
Yeah, exactly. But
so
the people
that's why I don't understand why he's getting faded the way that he is right now.
Especially for the people that are targets. You got to get the guy that gets targets. He might be top 5 in targets amongst running backs this year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But my sleeper is Brian Robinson because he's RB37, and that doesn't feel right as a guy who is going to get 80% of the carries in this backfield? Probably more.
I mean, you're still looking at probably about 50%. But even that's, if they run the football 500 times, that's just kind of how the splits work out. Keep in mind, Sam Howell had close to 1,000 yards rushing his junior year of college. He can scoot. I don't know. He doesn't necessarily have the athletic profile of half of these quarterbacks that are running for,
it's not going to be designed runs. It's not going to be
they're not.
Runs.
They're going to be scrambles, and he has a nose for it. He can scoot, but and I don't think 400 rushing yards is out of the realm of possibilities for Sam Howell if he starts 13 plus games in this offense. But again, that's still going to translate to 80 some odd rush attempts. You figure Gibson around 100 or so. I think even if you put Robinson at generously 55%, that's still going to be 220 plus carries. And
that probably 25, 30 of them are coming in the red zone, probably more. Mm-hmm. So because he's the red zone guy, he's a huge guy. Right. So I just saw him at RB37 and I was intrigued. Curtis Samuel is wide receiver 76, but I don't trust his injury history whatsoever.
Yeah, especially with Jahan Dotson really taking that step. He did really well scoring touchdowns for this team last year. Mm-hmm. Why would you want to go away from that?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. So the would you rather game is with Brian Robinson because he's a starting running back going as a bench guy for people. In a 12-team league, he's going as a bench guy in your, traditional 1 quarterback, 2 running back, 2 receiver, 1 flex, whatever it is. That, to me, that's crazy. So you have Samaje Perine or Brian Robinson.
I do like Robinson, but I am all in on the idea of Perine this year, catching passes in a Sean Payton offense.
I agree. I would take Perine there, but
I have them very close. I have Robinson at RB 35 in my rankings and Perine at 33. So
yeah, and your issue there is you're gambling. If Javonte Williams doesn't come back, Samaje Perine at RB 35 looks like the most genius pick in the world.
Dunk, yeah.
A slam dunk. But if Javonte Williams is there, you obviously don't know how effective he's going to be. But if Javonte Williams is there and he's healthy, Samaje Perine is going to see a similar role to what he saw with Joe Mixon, because Javonte Williams is just, worlds better than Samaje Perine. So, and we've also seen Samaje Perine as a feature back in the NFL, and he hasn't done well.
He hasn't, but the Broncos have done well this offseason to boost up and beef up the offensive line.
Their offensive line,
I think there's a lot that can go Perine's way, even if he ends up having to be, a lion's share back. But even then, like if he ends up having to do that, he's still going to be catching a ton of passes too, which is going to inflate his value more than Brian Robinson.
And he's more experienced now than he was back when he was with Washington.
And that's the thing with Robinson, you really have to hope that he hits 10 touchdowns. That's really the only way he's going to pay off an RB2 status.
If we're talking about offensive line, Samaje Perine ran behind arguably the best left tackle ever in Trent Williams. So, let's not forget about Trent there. Damian Harris or Brian Robinson. This one's interesting because they are both guys that will probably not catch the football in their respective offenses.
Yeah, where do I have Harris at?
I'm going Brian Robinson. I
have Harris 2 spots lower. I will say we've seen the touchdown production from Damian Harris, so I would value that a little bit more. But to me, the biggest thing is we still don't know how involved Buffalo is going to make James Cook.
Yeah.
Like, do they want him to be a 180-plus carry running back with 60-plus targets? I don't know. The way that Josh Allen runs the football, he's not going to target a running back that much. Like, even when Devin Singletary was targeted, he never hit 60.
And they're just going to gun down the field because that's their offense.
Correct.
So, in Damian Harris is not going to be in on passing downs.
No.
He can't pass block, and he's strictly a running back. In Buffalo's system, I don't ever foresee a strict running back. They got rid of Zach Moss to get Nyheim Hines. The signing of Damian Harris to me to Buffalo made no sense.
I think it made sense just in the idea that if they do want to try and protect Josh Allen, they have a fallback. But it's still going to be Josh Allen is going to decide whether or not he, quote unquote, protects himself. Yep. It's just not his game. And sometimes you just have to accept that as a team.
Yes. Yep. B-Rob all the way. Brian Robinson, Rashad Penny. You're thinking about the injury in your head. You're like, when's he getting?
I really am. Like, look, I have Robinson higher in my rankings. If we're at this point in the draft, I'm probably drafting the upside, and that's Penny for me.
So here's the thing, too. As it stands, is Rashad Penny catching a single pass if DeAndre Swift is on the field? No. So you're looking
at DeAndre Swift catching a single pass if he's on the field? In Philly's offense. They targeted the running back position 70 times last year.
Well, how about this? Who's going to be the running back that they're targeting if they're targeting a running back?
Well, if they're targeting, it's Swift.
It's Swift. So in passing downs, DeAndre Swift is in the game. So, and Penny is going to be in there and running. Penny's a big boy. He is a big boy. So he'll be in there. But again, you're looking at 2 guys who are predominantly going to be running backs and not.
Give me the guy that averages over 5 yards, over 5.5 yards, who averaged 6 yards a carry last year, and that's Rashad Penny.
Give me the guy who got shot in the leg and came back in 3 weeks. I'll take Brian Robinson, okay? Brian Robinson or Devin Achane, that mess of a backfield. Who are you picking out of these 2?
I have them 35 and 36.
Yeah, they're right.
At this point in the draft, I think you're shooting more for upside, and that's Achane to me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you there.
I still think there's a world where A-Chain doesn't see any offensive production and is strictly a kick returner.
Yeah,
And that's the big mystery
that's
with
the worry.
A-Chain. Yeah, it truly is.
He could be Leon Washington, which is great for football. Just
not fantasy football.
Terrible for you in fantasy football. Yeah. So, yeah, that's the tough thing. One more name I'll bring up just because we haven't talked about the Bears yet. Khalil Herbert's going RB40. That feels wrong. That feels wrong. So Khalil Herbert or Brian Robinson? Like,
where do I have Herbert?
Again, I know Khalil Herbert.
I have Robinson way higher, and a lot of that is just because I don't. Yeah, I have no idea how those carries are going to shake out.
Yes, and that's the biggest question.
Like, because I mean, you have 3 running backs that truly are very similar in their running styles. They vary in size, but their running styles are similar. Like Khalil Herbert's more of the big play guy versus, Roschon Johnson, the rookie out of Texas, and the free agent acquisition Diontae Foreman, who, they're bigger, they're bruisers. Herbert, for his size, I don't think he tested well in terms of speed, but his speed on the football field looks good. Way better. Yep. Yeah. And he's very efficient as a running back. So you have that aspect of it. None of those guys are going to catch passes. Again, it boils down to Fields is going to take off and run instead of dumping it off to a running back. It's just not his game. But yeah, I mean, but again, you're looking at 2 running backs that I could get one in one round in Robinson, and literally the next round I can get Herbert.
Yeah. So well, yeah. I mean, they're 10 spots apart. So yes, you technically could. 2 Texas running backs in that backfield, right? Diontae Foreman went to Texas. Did he not? Did.
Yeah, he had 2,000 yards for Texas.
It's pretty fucking good. He's pretty good. All right, next up. Oh, wait, sorry. I told you my sleeper. IDP player note. Jamin Davis could potentially have 150 tackles this year. Depending on how they use him. Cole Holcomb is gone. Cody Barton is not taking Cole Holcomb's snap count. He's also not taking Cole Holcomb's tackle count. So Jamin Davis should be set up very well. A lot of vacated tackles in the middle right there. And obviously Cameron Crowe. We're not going to go a Commander segment without talking about Cameron Crowe. So this is a very good football defense.
Yeah, Commanders have a really good defense, especially if Chase Young actually starts looking like a number 2 overall pick. Holy crap, because that defensive line is loaded.
Their entire defensive line is first-round picks. Jamin Davis, first-round pick. Emmanuel Forbes, first-round pick.
Yeah. And that kid's a ball hawk, too.
Jartavius Martin, their nickel corner, second-round pick. I mean, Cameron Crowe is a 7th-round pick, but he's a freaking dog. Like, Derek Forrest, the guy who filled in for Cameron Crowe, he's going to play opposite him this year, 5th-round pick. I don't know
that's a team defense that I would be willing to draft before like the 15th round. And by that I mean like the 14th in a redraft league.
That is a legit team defense. That is a legit, like, we can turn the ball over, get to the quarterback, make stops defense. I don't know what Ron Rivera.
And they're going to be put to the test too. Like I said, the big mystery with the Commanders, it's Sam Howell. Mm-hmm. This team will go as this quarterback position goes. And I know you can say that about a lot of different teams, but I think it's more so true for this team because they have so many quality pieces on both sides of the ball. They're legitimately missing a quarterback. Yes. And if he sucks, this defense will be tested big time. It's Denver all over again.
Yeah. I'm just going to skip this narrative trap, if you don't mind.
No, go ahead. I was kind of filling in time.
Yeah, it says Logan Thomas will eat in this offense. We'll skip that.
No, because that's apparently what Ryan wanted to talk about, or that's what he put as like.
Okay, Ryan. No one wants to talk tight ends unless you're on the show, so it's fine. Next up, the Steelers, 9-8, same coach, same offense. Mike Tomlin, Mr. Canada. Projected starting offense: Kenny Pickles, quarterback 1. Najee Harris, Jalen Warren, 1 and 2 in the backfield. Diontae Johnson, the 1, George Pickens, the 2, A-Rob, the wide receiver 3, who they literally got for, a can koozie and a pat on the back. Tight end 1 is Pat Freiermuth. Tight end 2 is Darnell Washington. Pat Freiermuth, very good season last year. My guys, Josh, you have Diontae Johnson. Ryan, you got George Pickens. I don't need to hear you talk about Diontae Johnson. I think
sure, because I got stats.
I think everybody's heard you talk about Diontae Johnson. Don't really think we need to hear that again. So we all know why Josh loves Diontae Johnson. The guy I want to talk about is Pickens, because I do feel he is being drafted a little low for what he has done on the field, or what he did in the field last year, and how just he felt uncoverable at times, and his ball skills, might have been the best in the rookie class. He was insane, and he's currently going wide receiver 40.
I think this is a good time for would you rather, in all honesty.
Yes.
Simply because, Diontae Johnson and George Pickens, they're not going very far apart.
No, wide receiver 31 or wide receiver 40, they're going almost 20 picks apart. So Diontae Johnson is going around guys like Brandon Ayuk, Marquise Brown, Michael Pittman, Tyler Lockett. Look, it's a fair spot for him to be going around. I would take him over Hollywood, just because I don't like Hollywood. You're looking at Pittman is also it's a question mark at quarterback. Tyler Lockett, crowded offense. Brandon Ayuk, I don't think anybody's too worried about Ayuk. It's just, what is the official quarterback situation in San Francisco? Diontae Johnson feels like he should be going in that area. That's not a bad area for him to be going, and he's not being too overdrafted, not being underdrafted. Obviously,
I think he's being underdrafted personally. I don't know how you can sit here and tell me that a guy that is basically a lock for 140 plus targets is only a wide receiver 30. He finished above wide receiver 30 last year, and he didn't score a fucking touchdown.
Yeah, listen, I'm not disagreeing with you that I'm thinking he's going to outplay his draft stock. But when you put him around the guys that are being drafted, now granted, like Christian Watson, I don't think should be 21. DJ Moore in the Bears offense, wide receiver 27, meh, generous. I think Mike Williams should be wide receiver, 162, unless he's in a contract year. So yes, he should maybe be a little higher, but the guys he's going around, I don't think you're like, that's kind of disgusting. Why are people thinking of Diontae Johnson like that? If he caught a touchdown last year, he'd probably be up like 7 more draft spots.
Even just one. You look at last year alone. If he scores on average, he had 20 touchdowns his first 3 seasons, right? If you take that average and plug it into last year, he jumps up 8 spots. He's a top 20 wide receiver.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, if he had 1 touchdown, he would probably be 7 spots higher in this ADP. 100%.
And just going where he's going, Chris Godwin has what? Who's throwing to Chris Godwin? Who's throwing to Brandon Ayuk? Who's throwing to Marquise Brown? Mike Williams always gets hurt. Drake London is in one of the worst passing offenses.
Listen. No Drake London slander here, okay? No Drake London slander, all right? Love him.
Just saying.
No, I agree. But George Pickens. Kadarius Toney, really? Like that's our bar.
Again,
right now?
you're basically at that point, you're going off of upside in the offense, right?
Great. Was he going to play 5 games?
If Kadarius Toney ends up as the wide receiver 1 for Patrick Mahomes,
I don't care.
You're trying to tell me you wouldn't rather have him over George Pickens?
No, because Travis Kelce is going to get 300 fucking targets in this offense this year, and Jerick McKinnon is your wide receiver 2 now in the offense. So
I would greatly disagree with that, because they didn't even bring him back until after the NFL draft.
No. Why do you think they brought him back?
For training camp.
No. You said Mahomes has so much pull. Why do you think they brought him back?
Yeah, for passing down, sure.
Mahomes wanted him. That's
and now
exactly
McKinnon's
why.
going to be, what, 32?
I don't give a shit. He's 32 with 27-year-old legs. He He missed 4 years.
I'd argue his legs are older because of all the injuries that he's gone through.
The injuries, okay, tread on the tires. How about that? He's 32 with 27-year-old tread.
Injuries make it seem like 42, but that's okay.
Yeah, he's fine. Kadarius Toney, what has he proven to you to do anything?
He can get open. That's what it boils down to. He can get open.
So can George Pickens.
No, Diontae Johnson can get open. George Pickens makes his living off of highlight reel catches, which was the same thing that OBJ did.
He's pretty good though. Kadarius Toney, there's 7 Kadarius Toneys on the Chiefs roster. 7 of them.
No.
Guys that can run fast
and do a lot more than just run fast.
Oh, hooray! Another Sky Moore.
I don't know about Sky Moore,
but no, they don't have talent. They don't. They simply don't. Everyone was making fun of the Giants for drafting Kadarius Toney because like, why the hell would you draft a punt returner?
People were making fun of them for drafting Kadarius Toney simply because he was a late college breakout and wasn't in especially like from the Twitter people, because everybody is so dynasty minded and they're all about late breakout age. He was this beforehand and this and that, blah, blah, blah. When you watch him on a football field, he's basically Percy Harvin. Like that's what he is. Percy Harvin was fantastic aside from the concussions. And
he's got the same amount of average games played per season as Percy Harvin too. So that's really good. What are you going to be good for 6 games? No, I need you on the fucking field. Here's one guy I'll take over him. Jordan Addison. Heavy passing offense. Yeah. He is going to see the 17th linebacker on the depth chart in the coverage. Because, I mean, what are you going to do? Not double cover Justin Jefferson? What are you, stupid? What are you, the Patriots? Gabe Davis? Really? Really? It's the same sentence as Gabe Davis?
I mean, it's the same concept, right?
No, it's not. Because one of them can actually catch the football. And the other had one good game. The other had one good game.
Yeah, and he still ended the season with over 90 targets, which was more than what George Pickens had last year.
Didn't George Pickens finish higher than him?
Nope.
All right. I don't give a shit. 196-yard touchdown really propelled Gabe Davis, didn't it?
You're
going to sit here and tell me you're drafting Gabe Davis over George Pickens.
No, I'm not drafting Gabe Davis, period.
Thank you.
Simply for the boomer bust factor. I don't want that on my teams.
Okay, so that's
really
here,
what it boils down to.
Yeah, you're sitting here, and guys like Gabe Davis and Quentin Johnston are on the fucking block.
Quentin Johnston, I will gladly make an argument for over George Pickens.
No.
Gladly.
No.
You're the one that sits here and talks all the time about how inconsistent health Mike Williams has.
100%.
Keenan Allen missed more games last year with a fucking hamstring injury than Brian Johnson missed after getting shot.
100%.
Brian Robinson, excuse me.
100%.
Again, Justin Herbert with Kellen Moore as an offensive coordinator might throw the football 800 times.
Josh Palmer's better.
You can argue that he's better, but when Johnston and Josh Palmer are the starting wide receivers on that offense, you tell me you wouldn't want Quentin Johnston over George Pickens when an offense is only going to throw 550 times at max.
Who's going to see the number 1 guy? Is it Josh Palmer or is it Quentin Johnston?
You just told me Josh Palmer was better.
Yeah, but who our defense is gonna give the number 1 guy to though? The 6'3" receiver.
How many true number 1 corners are there in the NFL, Joe? You're the one that tells me all corners fucking suck anyway.
Yeah, they do all suck except.
So why does it fucking matter?
So he sees Pat Surtain twice a year if he's the wide receiver 1.
Okay.
Reference. Okay. Probably the best man-to-man corner in the NFL outside, up there with Sauce Gardner.
Okay. So how about the other 15 times a year?
That would be nobody on the Raiders. He's fine.
There you go.
Raiders are bad. I'll give you that one. The Raiders suck. Okay. The Raiders are really bad. The Chiefs.
McDuffie.
No, you would see Legere. He would see Snead.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like Snead, but people love him. So, he must be good. Again, all corners to me suck.
There you go. So why does it fucking matter?
Because ready? Let me think. So hold on. So the last person to be drafted from TCU in the first round as a receiver who had,
Stop with this fucking narrative. Who gives a shit about Jalen Reagor and Josh Dotson? It's over. It's done with. They're two different fucking coaching staffs, two different draft classes 10 years ago, 5 years ago in Reagor's case, 3 years or 4 years, whatever the fuck it's been.
How do you do against Georgia real quick, the NFL-ready defense?
The NFL-ready defense pressured Max Duggan so much that he had half a second to get open. And when the routes themselves take longer, like, you can't improvise those things at the college level the way that you can in the NFL.
I'm just saying.
And apparently that corner, like, no.
I am all about Keenan Allen and Quentin Johnston spread out, and then Josh Palmer in the fucking slot when Mike Williams gets injured on the second play of the season. And it's going to be Keenan Allen and Josh Palmer and all of you.
The true answer to that question is it's Austin Eckler as the wide receiver one. But
no. It is Josh Palmer. Okay. The fucking disrespect that man is getting. He is a good player. And Herbert likes throwing the ball to him too. So get ready, folks. Okay. Fuck the Steelers. IDP player note, Cole Holcomb. I'm not going to lie. I don't know why on their depth chart, did they run a 3-4? Am I missing that?
Steelers?
Yeah, because they're listed.
Steelers have always run like a hybrid 3-4.
Yeah, with Watt in the ground. They have a Landon Roberts and Cole Holcomb in the middle. I was like, why do you need a Landon Roberts when you have Cole Holcomb? But, that's fine. My only worry with putting Holcomb as the guy there, fucking a Landon Roberts stealing tackles from him. Roberts is much faster than Cole Holcomb, and he is a very run-heavy linebacker. He can't play pass coverage to save his life. Cole Holcomb is very good. I like Cole Holcomb. A couple guys also just throw out there. Minka is one of the best safeties in the league. Cam Hayward at 75 years old still somehow finds himself in the top 5 defensive linemen every single year.
I'm curious your thoughts, because I know Sleeper just introduced this on their platform. They're doing away, like, with TJ Watt's dual eligibility.
Yeah, they should.
At linebacker in the end.
They should.
And I think he's staying as a linebacker. I have to double check that. But how much do you think that affects his draft stock? Because, I mean, we've talked about this on our show on numerous occasions. And in, strategies for, like, the IDP Guys Invitational, the Fantasy and Frames 4i tournament, when that was a thing still, and we were all like, oh, TJ Watt's worth a top 4-round pick because of what he brings to a defense and that dual eligibility. Is it still that case without that?
No, not with it. Not with his previous injuries and things like that. That scares me. He does do more than just sack the quarterback, but the issue is, I think they're going to be more cautious with him on the field, and they are going to take him out of certain situations or not have him rush the passer in certain situations, and drop him back in coverage and not have him around the football as much or as often just because of those injuries. When you're taught, especially in a league that is very tackle heavy, unless your league is super sack heavy, like it's 6 points for a sack and maybe 1 point for a total tackle, then you're probably, TJ Watt is still probably up there with one of the top linebackers you're going to take. If he's listed as a defensive end or defensive tackle, defensive lineman, you're taking TJ Watt. It doesn't matter. He's going to put up more sacks and more tackles than any of those guys on that line. Myles Garrett, Nick Bosa, Max Crosby, not included. As a linebacker, Cole Holcomb on his own team could have more fantasy points than TJ Watt. And I'd honestly be willing to bet he probably does have more fantasy points than TJ Watt in a league where tackles maybe count for 2 and sacks only count for 4 or 6. I would 100% be willing to say Cole Holcomb on his own team will have more points than TJ Watt. Foyesade Oluokun is 1,000% going to have more points than TJ Watt. So I don't love TJ Watt as a linebacker in fantasy football.
TJ Watt, 2023 bounce back season.
Oh, I said it when we talked. I said it when we talked on the IDP show that if he mimics his brother's 28-year-old season, he's going for record amount of forced fumbles and like 17 sacks. So if he does what his brother did after his bounce back year, then there it goes. The safety also, I just want to throw out DeMonte Casey as well, coming over from Dallas.
He's with the Falcons, right?
He was with the Falcons, then went over to Dallas. Ironically, the Steelers have two former Atlanta strong safeties in Keanu Neal and DeMonte Casey. Both, ironically, also played in Dallas. Most recently, Keanu Neal played in Tampa Bay. The biggest issue with both of them, and the reason they're still not in Atlanta, because, health. If Keanu Neal stayed healthy, I guarantee you know who Keanu Neal is, because he'd be considered a top 5 safety in the NFL. If DeMonte Casey stayed healthy, you would be hearing about him because he would be a name probably like top 10 at his position in the NFL, top 10 playmaker in the NFL. Both these guys are boomers and playmakers. The issue is they get hurt. But if you need a guy in a week where maybe your safety's on a bye, your safety got hurt, I guarantee you DeMonte Casey and Keanu Neal are probably going to be on your waiver wire. So there's that. Another really good team defense here. The only worry with me is their secondary at the corner position. Levi Wallace and Patrick Peterson, I'm not too high on. Joey Porter Jr., obviously the hot commodity, the hot, sexy draft pick. We'll see how he does. But after that, we're going to James Pierre and Shandon Sullivan. It's not a very good cornerback class.
Minka or bust.
Oh, it's Minka or bust in that secondary. And when you're going against Jamar Chase, T. Higgins in that division, and then Amari Cooper subsequently with DPJ and Elijah Moore, it's going to be a tough time for that defense. But in terms of sacks and getting to the quarterback and being able to stop teams,
well, that's what makes life easier for a secondary anyway.
Yes, I do think this is another very good team defense to keep your eye on at least. Okay. Last team, Detroit Lions, 9-8 as well. Same coach, Dan Campbell. Same offense, Ben Johnson. Jared Goff is your quarterback 1. David Montgomery, RB1. Jahmyr Gibbs, RB2. They're not being drafted like that, though. Amon-Ra St. Brown, wide receiver 1. Jamison Gamblin-Williams, wide receiver 2. And Josh Reynolds is your wide receiver 3. Sam Laporta, the rookie, is the tight end 1. Lions, my guys. Josh, you got Amon-Ra St. Brown. Ryan has David Montgomery. We'll get to Montgomery in a sec with my sleeper, but I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown is a lock for 8 receptions a game. It's not even 8 targets a game. He's a lock for 8 receptions.
Feels that way, yeah. He averaged over 9 targets a game last year and topped 140 targets. So
he's open on every play.
It's unreal. And this is what I love about this offense for making the case for Amon-Ra St. Brown, like wide receiver 1 season. They took off last year. There were so many great things that went on for this offense.
Yep.
And why everybody is hyping them up this year. They lose their RB1. They trade their RB2. They traded their tight end 1 midseason. And now you have your, sexy first-round draft pick who only had 2 touches last year, suspended for the first 6 games this year. You have a lot of turnover. Mm-hmm. And you're expecting these guys to just come in and automatically develop a rapport with your quarterback, who over the last couple of years has started to look like that first round pick that he was way back when, but is still Jared fucking Goff. Mm-hmm. Let's not forget that. He's still Jared fucking Goff. This guy sucks on the road. Absolutely sucks.
Joe Montana at home, Jared Goff on the road.
Sucks on the road. And now you're expected to take off and take this division by storm because the Packers are reloading, rebuilding, whatever they are. The Bears are down and out, and the Vikings are back for some regression because they won 11 one-score games last year.
And the Vikings also might have the worst defense in the NFL, and that's not even an exaggeration. They could.
So what's going to happen when these new guys come in and just run the wrong route, make the wrong read? Who's Jared Goff going to look at? He's going to look at the guy that he knows and trusts. Amon-Ra St. Brown. If you told me that Amon-Ra St. Brown ended this season with 11 targets a game, I would believe you.
Could you imagine?
It's there. It is within the realm of possibilities.
It's disgusting.
Yeah. Now he just needs to average more than like 10.5 yards per reception, and we're cooking, baby.
Hey, if he gets 11 targets a game, who fucking cares? He get 9 yards per reception. He's still gonna have 90 yards at the end of the game with a touchdown.
100%.
So the interesting thing is, because I'll bring this up, because I'm looking, Amon-Ra St. Brown is currently going at the end of the first round, beginning of the second round, depending on 10 or 12 team leagues. He's a wide receiver 8. Normally we don't talk about guys this high, but it's very interesting because all the guys going around here, I'm like, shit. I mean, I love Amon-Ra St. Brown, but like, I know a lot of other people might look at this and be, okay, this is very interesting. So from 9 to 15, they're all receivers. Overall, 9 through 15. The only spot is 10, is the only spot that does not have a receiver being drafted. So quickly, Josh, A.J. Brown or Amon-Ra St. Brown?
Amon-Ra.
Really, as an Eagles fan? Okay. I'm also
A.J. Brown, as much as I love him, he's very much boomer bust. You're going to get a lot more consistency from Amon-Ra. And, I mean, even then, I only have him separated by 4 points in my rankings. So.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I would also go Amon-Ra. CeeDee Lamb or Amon-Ra St. Brown?
Ooh, yeah, I'm all in on CeeDee Lamb this year.
I am also taking CeeDee Lamb. Amon-Ra St. Brown or Garrett Wilson?
I have Wilson one spot higher. They're literally separated by 1 touchdown. You could sway me on Amon-Ra, but give me Garrett Wilson.
I'm Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm not trusting that Jets offense. Sorry. Amon-Ra St. Brown or Davante Adams? Almost outside the top 10.
I do have DeVante higher. If you're talking about a wide receiver that is quarterback proof, he's going to be the closest thing to it. So give me DeVante.
Arguably,
I would not hate you if you take Amon-Ra though. Like again, you can make the argument.
Arguably, the best receiver in the NFL, wide receiver 10 right now. That's kind of nuts. And now, granted, he doesn't have Derek Carr.
Situation.
Yeah. He had 181 targets last year, I believe. Gross. Absolutely gross. Last one. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jalen Waddle.
Oh, give me Amon-Ra. Again, I have him separated essentially by 1 touchdown. But Amon-Ra is going to command so many more targets.
And if Tua gets hurt, who is throwing? Because you could also say, well, if Jared Goff gets hurt. Yeah, but Tua got hurt like 17 times last year, so that's actually a valid question. If Tua gets hurt, who's throwing Jalen Waddle the football? Nobody. So, yes, I'm also Amon-Ra.
They got Mike White. Come on, man. Homie can sling it.
You know what? You're right. I do love Mike White. Still taking Amon-Ra St. Brown, but I do love Mike White. Ryan said David Montgomery brings up the red zone opportunities. Jahmyr Gibbs, the rookie, is currently going RB 13. He's going 1 pick after Najee Harris, just before Travis Etienne, Breece Hall, same conversation as those guys. David Montgomery is the RB 27. That doesn't feel right.
Not at all.
Right? Like I'm higher on David Montgomery than most people. So I need to check to the real world and see what other people think. But that feels really low for David Montgomery, for a guy who is going to get the carries in this offense, especially the goal line carries. And if you want to look at goal line carries last year, Jamal Williams had 17 touchdowns. I'm not saying Montgomery's going to have that too, but if you want to look at that, hell, cut the touchdowns in half. You're telling me Dave Montgomery still has 9 touchdowns on the ground and he's the RB 27?
I think the big thing, and this is something that I was looking at when I was kind of looking through the show sheet and looking at what Ryan was talking about. It's always easy to be like, oh yeah, the team did this, so they're going to replicate it the next year. We literally just talked about the Detroit Lions. They have the feel of this team that can take off, but could very easily break everyone's hearts.
Mm-hmm.
Like, again, you're
Isn't
putting
that
your
the
faith
Detroit
in
way?
Jared fucking Goff. Like,
That's the Detroit way.
It's the Detroit way, exactly.
Yeah.
So, like, just taking out a guy to drop in another guy who isn't any more efficient. Honestly, before last year, they were really the exact same guy. They really were.
Here's the thing. Montgomery has never had an offensive line.
I agree.
say that to the day I die.
Detroit's offensive line is heads and shoulders above anything that he's ever had in Chicago. So yes, there is definitely more opportunity for, ascension for David Montgomery.
What was his big thing coming out of college? He's going to make you miss.
Yeah,
he'll
make you miss. Sure,
he averaged 2.7 missed tackles behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, no, he'll make you miss. Sure.
Yeah, that's absurd.
He's also going to miss the hole.
Sure.
And that's what causes a lot of that issues.
No, it's the fact that.
And the biggest thing too that I noticed when you look at the play calling, Detroit switched a lot of their run plays from zone schemes to gap schemes. Montgomery's never been a big gap runner because that's not what Chicago's played. So now he's going to have to learn a whole new way to run, which again, for a guy that dances too much already, could very well be a problem.
I feel like Dan Campbell is the guy to coach him up and say, hit the fucking hole. But
no, Deuce Staley was the guy to coach him up, and Deuce Staley's not there anymore.
Well, fine. David Montgomery, RB27.
But he's also on a team now that just spent a 12th overall pick on a running back.
Yeah, but we know how they're going to use Jahmyr Gibbs.
We assume we know.
We know.
We assume that he's just going to do what DeAndre Swift did.
We know.
They could have kept DeAndre Swift to do the same fucking thing.
Yeah, but why keep DeAndre Swift?
I think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be used a lot more in this offense than we're assuming, and it's going to be at the detriment of David Montgomery. Again, I still think he's a value, but I don't think he's going to have, 13 touchdowns. He may not even hit 9 touchdowns.
Yeah, I think he has double-digit touchdowns. And I still think he gets involved in the passing game, too.
I will say he will be more involved in the passing game than Jamal Williams. I wholeheartedly agree with that. Which
is interesting because Jamal Williams in Green Bay was their receiving back. Mm-hmm. So it was, granted, DeAndre Swift with the ball in his hands, you could argue DeAndre Swift with the ball in his hands might be the most dangerous weapon at the running back position with the ball in his hands in open space. He's shifty as hell. So David Montgomery is RB27. Isaiah Pacheco is RB25. They're going like one pick apart. That doesn't feel right. Isaiah Pacheco and David Montgomery in the same sentence.
I would take Montgomery over Pacheco.
You want to talk about a guy who can't read a fucking hole? Isaiah Pacheco couldn't read a book if it was an audio book. So that guy's bad. That guy's bad at finding the hole. Dalvin Cook is RB26. Obviously wherever Dalvin Cook goes, probably going to be the guy you want to go to, but can we really say Cook over Montgomery at this point? I feel like that one's just a wash. That was just a wash.
Yeah, if he ends up in Miami, obviously you're taking Cook in a heartbeat, but again, we don't know
where he's going.
Exactly.
Yeah, we don't know where he's going. David Montgomery, James Conner. I'm a perennial James Conner hater, but
I know you are.
But even
I do have Montgomery higher. I think that there's definitely a higher potential for more work for James Conner
100%.
Because he really is that offense. But we also know his injury history.
Yeah, fast.
And he tends to break down over time. This is not a good offense at all. So
you want to talk about a bad offensive line?
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people will overblow the touchdown upside in this offense because that touchdown upside was a Cliff Kingsbury offense. It's not they're a derivative of Cleveland's offense.
Yeah.
And Drew Petzing, I believe, is the offensive coordinator there now.
Yep.
Like there's a lot to like, but also a lot to dislike that I think people are just disregarding.
Yeah. I agree. Last one, David Montgomery, James Cook. That's an interesting one because you want to talk about. We have no clue how James Cook is going to be used or how Buffalo wants to use him.
Correct.
The one thing we do know, he's not the best running back on that team. It's Josh Allen. Correct. And when in big down situations, it's Josh Allen. Goal line situations, it's Josh Allen, or it's probably Damian Harris in goal line situations. So touchdown upside probably is going to lie with David Montgomery in that instance. But in terms of playing time and being on the field, and especially targets, you're probably looking at James Cook.
Yeah.
I'm
gonna lean Montgomery. I do have them 5 spots apart, favoring Montgomery. But again, just like you said, I don't think he reaches that touchdown upside, but it's there.
I think if there's any guy here looking at like the running backs that could wildly outplay their draft stock or wildly underplay their draft stock, it's probably James Cook. You're looking at guys like Cam Akers, RB21. I mean, I feel like, yeah, that's probably right. Like, I don't think Cam Akers is going to set the world on fire and go higher, but RB21 seems real. And if he's a disappointment, it's not like he hasn't been disappointing in the past. Correct. Dameon Pierce, RB22. Rachaad White, RB24. I mean, that's pretty bold considering, he hasn't really shown much outside of receiving. But again, James Cook at 29.
And he was not efficient at all last year.
No, hell no.
Behind that offensive line, and that offensive line didn't exactly get better.
Yeah, so it's like if Rachaad White outplays draft stock, you're like, oh, great. If he underplays it, you're like, well, the signs were there. James Cook is a legit wild card where at RB29, he could finish legitimately inside the top 15 if used enough in Buffalo. Or he could finish in the RB30s because he doesn't get goal line carries, he gets no touchdowns, and he's just not used as much in that offense. Like, there's a legit puzzle. He has such a swing in his draft stock where I weirdly feel, I don't know what the talk is with hero RB situations here. I feel like a lot of hero RB players are going to put a lot of stock into James Cook because hero RBs are boomer bust guys. And to me, he might be the biggest boomer bust guy sitting there in the
your hero RB strategy is more of you take the early guy within the first, second round.
Sorry, zero RB.
Zero
RB.
Yeah.
James
But I mean,
Cook
even he's going
RB.
in the, where's James Cook like round wise going?
93 overall. So you're sitting in the 10th round in a 10-team league.
Yeah, you're sitting down.
9th round in a 12.
He's definitely a zero.
He's a hero RB guy. Like that's zero RB. Because you're going early on receiver. And again, like, I mean, maybe like, I mean, you tell me, because normally your zero RB is your draft is probably going to draft him in what?
Yeah, you're not typically starting to look at the running back position till
7th.
I'd say round 6 at the earliest, likely around like 8 or 9.
So you're looking at, you want to talk about like 6th, 7th round, Miles Sanders, Cam Akers, Dameon Pierce. I mean, would you feel confident going hero RB? I mean, maybe Miles Sanders, but hero RB with Akers or Pierce? No. Hero RB with DeAndre Swift, Rachaad White, Isaiah Pacheco.
More likely, yes.
More likely. But then you get down into Montgomery, James Conner, James Cook.
Yeah.
Like, I think your hero RB situation is going to be James Cook. So that one is going to be very interesting for the people that are zero RB guys because the draft is now swinging where, again, Ramondre Stevenson is a late 3rd round pick in 10-team leagues.
That is criminal.
Derrick Henry is a mid 3rd round pick.
Yeah,
in
wide
10
receivers are vaulting up big time.
Like skyrocketing.
Yeah.
Ramondre Stevenson is a 3rd round pick in 12-team leagues. That's nuts. That's crazy.
Yeah,
so
Ramondre is going to be on a lot of my teams this year.
Breece Hall, 4th round pick. Aaron Jones.
That's at least justifiable. He's coming off of an injury.
Aaron Jones is a 6th round pick.
See, that's stupid to me.
That's absurd. Yeah. That is absurd. So wide receivers are skyrocketing. So for the people like me that are running back early, this is a fucking gift.
I think this year is going to be a huge swing in fantasy because
oh my god, yeah,
we've seen so many of the running back injuries. So now people are starting to really lean into the whole the hero RB, the zero RB strategies where you just load up on wide receivers and you play the matchups with running backs and just deal with the injuries. But it's going to get to a point where you're stupidly fading these running backs for some strategy instead of just taking the best fucking player that's available.
So this is,
and in a lot of instances, that is the running back.
Can you tell me the last time you saw a draft where 3 of the first round picks in a 12-team league were running backs? 3.
Yeah, probably 2 Mondays ago on Market Like It's.
But like in years prior, like it's always been running back early and get your receiver. And Grant, even like 3-4 years ago, that was still the case in a more pass-heavy NFL. Your first-round running backs are McCaffrey, Eckler, Bijan.
Yep.
Very fair. But you're still like, Stephon Diggs is above Austin Eckler. Cooper Kupp above Austin Eckler. Again, coming off an injury, but
that I'm okay
fair.
with.
That's fair.
That I'm okay with.
A.J. Brown.
Cooper Kupp's my RB 2 or 3 right now.
Yeah.
Or wide receiver 2 or 3,
yeah.
Excuse me.
But it's just, Jonathan Taylor, I don't care how bad of a season he had last year. He's almost a 3rd-round pick.
Yeah, that's criminal.
That's gross. Like, first off, thank you in advance, everybody playing fantasy football. Thank you, okay? Because, hell, I'm even looking at Saquon Barkley in the end of the second round.
You hate Saquon.
I hate Saquon. I will happily take him as my RB2. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you serious? What do we do? Nick Chubb is a 2nd-round pick. Almost a 3rd-round pick. Like, Mr. Consistency of the running back position. It's unbelievable, the paradigm shift there. And yeah, shout out to the running back guys. Scampers, I see you. Thanks for watching. Thanks for actually listening to me, unlike most people. I'm happy that you're a running back guy, and I hope it works out for you, because I know it works out for me most years. So hey, last time Jonathan Taylor was a 2nd-round pick, I got Eckler and Jonathan Taylor, and they were the RB1, RB2, and I made it to the championship. Yeah, that was JT's 400-point season and Austin Eckler's 364-point season. So, and then I had Bobby Trees as my wide receiver 1 when he was the wide receiver 12. So again, it fucking works, people. Keenan Allen is going in the 4th round. So hey, I might, for the first time ever, have Keenan Allen on my roster. That's gonna be fun. My other sleeper, just because the rapport with him and Jared Goff is just really good, is Josh Reynolds. He's wide receiver 105. There's not many guys around wide receiver 105 that are probably even getting drafted. But Josh Reynolds, as a flyer guy in a deep league, he legitimately puts up points, and his quarterback trusts him. You can't.
Yeah, and he can very easily, I mean, even just for the first 6 games of the season,
he's the wide receiver 2.
Wide receiver 2, yeah.
In a pass-heavy offense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thanks. Josh Reynolds is not a good receiver, but Goff loves him.
Yeah, that's what matters.
It's all that matters. And then my IDP player, this is going to be another very good defense. This is another really good all of these team defenses are very good. My guy is Kirby Joseph. For those that don't know, he had like 6 interceptions last year. He was a fantastic rookie, 3rd-round pick. Really, really good. My biggest worry, again, with this team, same as the Steelers, their secondary. Emmanuel Mosley had a very good year before getting injured. So coming off the injury, we'll see how he does. Cam Sutton from Pittsburgh, meh. My biggest issue with this defense, and I have mentioned it already, C.J. Gardner-Johnson is at the nickelback. C.J. Gardner-Johnson cannot play nickelback. He cannot. He is a safety. The reason he was bad in New Orleans was because they played him at nickel corner. Why was he so good in Philadelphia, Josh? Where did they play him?
Played him at safety.
They played him at safety. I said it on the IDP show. The guy you are going to overdraft in your IDP leagues is C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Let everybody else draft him. He is not going to do what you want him to do, because I'm sorry, Tracy Walker and Kirby Joseph are not getting booted from their positions. Brian Branch, too. He's listed as a nickelback. Isn't he a safety? He plays in the box.
He was kind of like a hybrid for Saban. He played both safety and corner, very similarly to Gardner-Johnson.
They list Brian Branch as a nickelback. But even then, Brian Branch could see time in that safety rotation. I do not like CJ Gardner-Johnson this year. Their pass rush is going to be very good. Aiden Hutchinson, James Houston should be great. Jack Campbell, the first-round pick. He seems like he'll do well. Love me some Alex Anzalone, and Malcolm Rodriguez is getting shafted. You know, he's a 6th-round pick. He didn't have a lot of stock in him, but Malcolm Rodriguez was very good. Romeo Okwara is still chilling there in the depth chart. They're going to have a very good defense, and Dan Campbell is a very good coach for that defense. That's it, folks. What a show. That was great. I enjoyed it.
Old times, baby.
Why do we need guests? Why do we need Ryan? We should kick him out. We should kick him out. Go back.
Well, this show probably would have been like 15 minutes shorter had he cut off some arguments. So got to keep him around.
Yeah. It also would have been 15 minutes shorter if he was hosting, but you know, we have fun here. Said that. I was like, we'll actually be on time today. Fuck you, Ryan. Look inside, full swing. Gibson and Diontae Johnson are up already, and Josh
I didn't write that one.
Josh didn't write it. Ah, look at that. David Montgomery is on the way. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube page. We're hitting milestones, people. Keep it up. Market Like It's Hot Mondays, 11 a.m. Eastern. Herstory in the Making, also on BSN. New episode just dropped yesterday, correct?
Yes, it was a great episode with Shannon Blunt, producer with Sirius XM Fantasy.
To be blunt, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Who's Your Caddy? Tuesdays, 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Dynasty After Party, Sundays, 8 p.m. Eastern. The intro started at 0 seconds. My quick thoughts started at... No, okay, I don't...
Oh, my God. Shut up, Joe.
No, shut up, Joe. Can we put that shut up, Joe, at 1 minute, 1 hour, 11 seconds, and 11 minutes and 36 seconds? Thank you.
Yeah, if I did a shut up, Joe timestamp for every single time, our timestamps would be way too long.
Yeah. For Josh and myself, not Ryan, he's not here. You can follow Club Fantasy on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Club Fantasy FFL. The URL is clubfantasyffl.com. You may have heard Ryan mention something about motorboating last week. Well, he mentioned it completely out of context.
That's why it was funny.
The Bismarck Larks' alternate identity now is the Missouri River Motorboaters. If you'd like to become a motorboater yourself, please go to mrmotorboaters.com. Get me paid because I am highly incentivized by the sales there, but it's so much fun, that new brand. But always remember, defense wins championships. Offense wins fantasy football. We will see you